What are the 3 biggest mistakes that sellers are making right now?
Welcome to Community Real Estate Roots, Agents Building Relationships, where we explore the heart of real estate through meaningful connections. Join Alicia, Deidre, and Lisa as they guide you through stories behind every sold sign and dive into how agents nurture communities, one home and one relationship at a time.
Welcome back. So today we're going to talk about the 3 things that's keeping your house from selling.
Those are some good questions.
Mm-hmm. What do you think they are?
Well, I can tell you the number one.
I was going to say, if you don't say it, I'm going to scream it out.
Yeah, because I already know what you would say. I know what you would say. It's pricing.
Yes. So a lot of people are just like picking a number from thin air, and this is what my house is worth. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that is not how this works. I would love to be able to give you what you want.
Or what
you think
Zillow says.
Yeah, or what Zillow says, but sometimes that is just not accurate. So,
or we can do it.
Yeah.
I've done it.
Yes. And I've told them, hey,
you can do it, but if you're moving by May 15th,
then you need to price that house right.
You need to price that house right.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that they just, like you said, they think Zillow's right, and it's not. Zillow's not pulling from what we pull.
Right.
Mm-hmm. They don't have the same information. They don't know they don't know the condition of the inside of the house. And I think that's where people get so confused. And they're like, well, Zillow said, well,
Zillow is a marketing firm.
Yeah.
It's a marketing firm that pulls from the MLSs across the country to pick a number.
Yeah.
They don't know condition. Mm-mm. They don't know location. They don't, there's so many questions that they don't know to answer.
That we as agents take into account.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, can you find a Zillow one that's probably close?
Absolutely. But that doesn't mean everyone is.
Because, well, that's not the only thing that we look at when we look at comps. When we look at comps anyway, I think it was funny, and I think you were, when we were talking about the ones that you're fixing to list, the number one statement, it seems like it doesn't matter who it is that you get. It's like, well, my neighbor 2 doors down sold theirs for $365,000.
And did I tell you when? I don't know if I ever told you when. It was back in 2023. I'm like, that's not even, I mean,
right.
I get that that's how much they sold it for, which is a great price for them, but the market has completely changed.
Was it a new one then?
No. It was a resale, but the market's completely changed.
Right.
Not that they can't get as much, but they're not going to get that much.
Right.
And also that might be what they had it listed for, but it doesn't mean that's what they got for it.
That's exactly what I had to prove. They're like, well, they listed for $375. I was like, but they didn't get $375. Mm-hmm. I think they got $349, $350, which is what
drastic difference,
right? So, and I think a lot of people don't see they listed for this, so they assume that that's what they got, and that's not the case in a lot of instances.
Mm-hmm. And that's when I always pull the when you're pulling comps in the MLS, and you come up with those 5 to 10 properties that are from that subdivision or that area, whatever. You see what it was listed for up there, and then you see what it sold for. Mm-hmm. And I highlight those areas. It's like, this is the numbers it sold for. This is what it listed for. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this is how many days on market.
How long it took to sell it.
How long it took to sell it. So we can do that. You just need to know that it's going to take you 60 days to sell it, and you're probably going to go negotiate it down
a little further.
Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So we're listing a little higher than what I would prefer, but I've laid down everything, and I think she understands that. And she said, we'll see. So we're going to see.
Well, sometimes they don't understand what happens when that appraisal process happens.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he'll know how much my house is worth.
But you don't get that appraisal until you go under contract.
You don't get it until you go under contract. And it's, he's going to compare, he or she is going to compare apples to apples, not apples to oranges. Mm-hmm. And that's usually when most of them are throwing out a number, yeah, your neighbor did, but their house is also 500, 600 more square feet, an extra bedroom, and on a great
Better lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a new roof and new windows or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. I mean, yes,
New air conditioner.
You are correct, but this is why.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, they hadn't lived there very long either, right?
Yeah, 2 years.
Right.
Yeah, they bought in February of 2023, and they're going to list in March.
Yeah. So the next question you have to ask is, okay, what did you spend on this house in 2 years for you to get that?
To justify that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, in this case, it was the neighbor. The neighbor sold for this much. So,
But it wasn't the same house, right?
mm-mm.
Yeah.
No. And I think that's one point of mine, and I know this is off topic, but it's on topic, is that as agents, we don't get to pick the price. I mean, ultimately the client does.
Mm-hmm.
We do tell you what the market's looking like, and we give suggestions, but
Right.
overall, the client tells you what to list for.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think we're in an era of real estate, and this is why it's so important to interview your agents and to interview more than one, to know the depth of knowledge that you're gonna get. If you talk to them in what the market is, and right now, over the past 2 years, your house has increased 3.5% year over year. That's a great increase for a house that's 2 years old, right? But the price that you're putting it on is a 10% increase year over year. So what have you done
to justify it?
What did we're going to have to tell the buyers that,
and have to tell the appraiser.
Right. We have to build the story, and I think we talked about it for that one. What you're going to have a case built for to do that. But if the house is exactly the way it was when you pulled into it 2 years ago, you're probably not going to get it. And it's not that the buyer's not going to give it to you; it's the appraiser is never going to appraise it because there's nothing here.
Nope.
So are you prepared at that time that this is the price you're going to get?
We've had that conversation, so I'll give y'all an update in a month or two.
Yeah, well, usually my experience is if you do it like that and you really talk about that, when it gets to the time they still don't like it and they're, kind of a little disappointed. But at the end of the day, they'll say, well, we did talk about it. And that's all you got to do.
Because all we're here to do is show you, in our professional opinions, our opinion.
Guide you. Yep.
Guide you in the way that it's going. You can make your choice. You can make the wrong choice all you want.
Well, I mean...
Not saying your people are making the wrong choice.
I'm not taking
if they're
that
watching
way.
this, I'm not saying that y'all are making the wrong choice. I'm just saying in general.
But as long as you've laid out that groundwork for them, it makes a big difference for that. I was going to see if I read this other article. It just said that they avoid, but it was funny because at the end it says, to avoid this headache, trust your agent's expertise from day one. A great agent will be able to tell you what your neighbor's house just sold for and how that impacts the value of the home.
Zillow told them.
So
what was number 2?
Number 2 is Deidre's favorite.
I don't know which one you're saying.
Skipping repairs.
Oh, yeah, skipping repairs. Yeah.
Are you having much of that now, though?
I'm not this year. So last year I did. I had one that they bought the house in, I think, 1996, and it looked like it still was in 1996. They had the wallpaper, But because of the location, they thought they could get that price, and I was like, it's not been updated. These are the same cabinets, same flooring, same wallpaper, paint job. They're all it hasn't been updated. It hasn't made any repairs, so we can't have that price.
I know what house you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That house was my learning lesson.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot during that transaction.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to that.
It was a lot,
but
but-
it did sell.
It did sell. It did sell. It sold for about $40,000 under what they were wanting, but it sold, and I think it went to a really good family, and I think that's I think they were happy with that because they got to meet the family and knowing the background of the family and why they were really wanting the house. I think it worked out the way it was supposed to. But
Well, and sooner or later, the right person will come along
Mm-hmm.
that, that wants it. You're just going to have to be reasonable. I mean, they probably had $30,000 worth of upgrades to do to that house.
mhm.
But on the flip side, you also can't do all these upgrades and think that that's going to raise your house. Because I've had people that have
Overdone
done a
it.
lot of stuff, but I've put this amount of money into it. Well, that's wonderful, but that's only going to raise your value a little bit.
Right.
You're not going to get.
Well, you can't be in a subdivision that, nobody even knows what granite is, much less granite countertops. You may be in one that somebody's flipped or whatever, but you go in and spend thousands and thousands of dollars of putting granite in your bathrooms and in your kitchen, and
You're overdoing it.
you're overdoing for that market.
And you're not going to get the return on value.
You're not going to get the return.
Yeah, I had one that was like, well, should I do this or should I do this? I'm like, let's just put it on the market and see what happens and they still got over what they were asking. So I'm just like, see, you would have just wasted all that. I mean, it would be great for those people, but, save your money for the house you're moving into.
Yeah.
Unless it needs it. I mean, if it's something that needs to be repaired, yes,
Absolutely.
do it 100%. But if you're just trying to, you got good countertops and cabinet space and everything, but you're just trying to do something else to give it a fresh look,
Well,
they may not want that.
Well, what's important to one person is not important to
Mm-hmm.
to
the
another.
next person.
Right. And you don't, if it's a safety issue,
Obviously do it.
obviously
It's
do
going to
it.
get flagged, so you might as well
It's going to
do it.
get flagged, so you might as well just do it now, and that will help you get the price they want
Mm-hmm.
for that. But if it's a cosmetic or there's a plug outlet cracked, just that may not be important to them. Yeah, is the home inspector going to say something about it? But wait till they tell you and then decide.
Yeah, I had
what you
somebody
wanna
that
do.
wanted to change all the outlets and all the cover plates because they were kind of like a faded color. And I'm like, I don't think that's going to be making or breaking it for somebody.
Right.
You know? And they did. They wanted it. And they was like, well, we got the contractor that said it's going to cost this amount of money. I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. I'm not telling you what to do.
But don't do it.
Don't do it.
So I'm going to ask this question it's on the subject, but it's not on the subject. Are you seeing more and more home inspections where the inspector is giving recommendations on the vendor to fix it?
Yes. Yes.
Like I'm,
That should be a conflict of interest,
Well,
right?
and
Isn't that wrong?
I was told that you're not ever supposed to put estimates on there or whatever. I'm about ready to call Montgomery
Yeah.
and just get the answer. One of the girls in the office just got one back, and he suggested a foundation person that he wanted to go out there, and he suggested the septic company he wanted to go out there. I'm like, well, if your buyer would like to pay for these inspections themselves, they can pick whatever company they want.
Who are you saying is suggesting this?
the inspector.
Inspector. It's on the
That's what I
inspection
thought you were
report.
saying.
Yeah. Like they're putting this-
Wow.
I mean, the company's name and phone number, and the person that probably is going to answer the phone.
Because he's getting probably a kickback on it.
Well,
That's
his buddy or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
wow.
Doesn't look good, does it?
I was like, if your buyer would like to take care of this themselves, well, we want to make sure it's a reputable company. I said, it will be a
That's none of your
licensed.
business.
It'll be
You're
a
just here to do the
licensed.
inspection.
It will be a licensed septic
Contractor.
company. I mean, you can't go ask your neighbor to do a septic inspection.
No.
I mean, they don't have the. You got to have equipment
Well,
to
and
do
it's
it.
a buyer beware. You do the inspection. It's on the buyer to say,
Mhm.
is this guy reputable or not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are some, Billy Bob's buddy, Uncle
Uncle Joe.
Joe,
Yeah,
whatever you
so I
want to
call
come
it. It's
do.
like
Will come do it, but you
Yeah.
still have to have the receipt. You still have to show that it's
home inspection
professional.
report is for the seller to be aware. The buyer's making them aware on these items they would like to be repaired.
Mm-hmm.
It's either a seller agrees to it or they don't agree to it. A licensed person is going to take care of it. If they agree to everything that's on there, they have until before closing to get it all done and show receipts and invoices.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the deal works. But
Mhm.
it seems lately that the buyer wants
Oh,
Bless
sorry. Oh.
a bigger say so.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just had another one a couple of months ago that did the same thing. And we ended up getting our own inspections. They did bring an inspector, but some of the stuff that they were saying was like, well, we're going to get a second opinion. And one of them was the roof. And the second opinion, guess what? The roof. At least you've got two roofers saying the same thing. So you're able to look at the seller and say, I get it that you do not want to replace this roof.
Mm-hmm.
But whether you turn this contract away or you do it and pay for it at closing, that's up to you.
Mhm.
But the next buyer that comes along, after how long we'll sit here, is going to tell you the same thing. And your roof is bad. You are going to have to replace it if you stay here.
Mm-hmm.
And so she replaced it.
Yeah. I mean, doesn't your insurance pay for that anyways?
No, they declined it.
Really?
More and more of them are declining.
Hmm.
The only time you can get a roofer really sometimes to pay for it anymore is you really need to do it right after a storm.
Hmm. Well.
Asking that you've got hail damage, and the last hailstorm was 9 months ago. The insurance companies aren't quite going for it.
Nope. What's
And
number?
and the roofer built up a case
Hmm.
for them that she does have some kind of damage, but she let the damage build up to
Not take care of it in a
not
timely
take
manner.
care. Right.
Mm.
You know, you just don't care of. People don't realize that you should take care of roofs and you should take care of crawl spaces.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're out of sight, out of mind, but those are the two most costly things on an older house.
Mm.
What's number 3?
Ooh, number 3. I don't know.
I think it has something to do with not negotiating. Am I right?
Refusing to negotiate.
Look at you. You read the same article, looks like.
I just recall it. From
It's
what Lisa
like, I
said.
just know.
I don't read. So
Yes, refusing
I
to
will
negotiate.
say I am on the buy side of a transaction right now, and the list agent. I mean, there's no negotiating. There's no negotiating with them at all, and it has made it difficult. Like, I understand that now we're under contract, but I mean, it's pretty hard.
What was the hardest thing?
I mean, there was no. I mean, it's this. Like we sent in a offer for list price, and only asked for a little bit back in concessions, and they're like, no, they wanted to go up in price, but not pay concessions.
Well, that's not going to work.
Exactly. And then finally, we all agreed on list price, and they're just not going to ask for the concessions. And then come repair, there were several issues, a water leak, like an actual water leak. The house is vacant. The seller has already moved to Taiwan.
So they're really gone.
They're really gone.
Mm.
And so I was just trying to make it easier, have my contractor come out there and kind of quote us a few things. I think at most it was about, I think it was $2,500 in repairs. That includes the water leak. There were some electrical issues, and they're like, no, we're not doing any repairs. We're like,
Did it say no repairs?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
Nope, it did not say that. It did not say
as is, nothing.
But see, it makes me wonder, is the agent really going back to the client
Mm.
and doing their job?
Well, guess what? She's going back to him now because she's going to have to mutual release the.
My clients want it.
Well,
I was able to negotiate $1,000. We asked for $2,500, and they ended up, back and forth, but we were able to get $1,000. But it was very hard. Like there's no room. We tried to talk to
how
them.
long had it been sitting on the market?
November, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Can I have one of your throat lozenges?
Uh-huh.
I keep fixing the coughing. Sorry, has nothing to do with real estate. But I'm gonna keep coughing if we don't.
Plenty to share.
I know
you
we
guys
need a big
always-
thing in the middle of the
Yeah.
thing. But
Thank you.
and then it's supposed to close, I think, in 2 weeks, and
No home warranty, no nothing.
mm-mm.
Well,
But my clients, we want this because they've already lost out on another one. And so, and I'm telling them, I was like, I can try, but I don't know what's going on. But they want the house, so they're taking some of the hit. And I really, I really feel bad, but
Well, all you can do is
try what I'm doing. But that's the issue I'm having with negotiating. I know that there's a whole other side to it, but
I
do
just
you
had
have
one that was similar to that, and it was empty. And I said, okay, so this is the deal. It's been on the market since the 1st of October. You went under contract once. It fell through for whatever reason. You guys are the ones that dropped the price because it was $665 and we offered $660 to start with. Well, we've already lowered it enough. And I went, we're negotiating off the price that you have today, not the price you started
with
3 months ago.
right?
And I said, so, either they want to sell this house or they don't want to sell this house.
mm-hmm.
I think that's the hard part, is to get them to understand that. And honestly, I think too many, and this is my personal opinion, that too many agents get so invested into it that they go further. And I think they're trying to do what's best for their client, but they don't want to take the hit of negotiating. They don't want to give a little bit to get a little. That's my personal opinion, though.
But the big question is, and this could be a question for another day,
What? Do we have another topic?
Is that happening because there's no upfront conversation before the house going on the market that this is what's going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Buyer's going to come in. This is probably what they're going to ask for. If you've walked through the house,
Mm-hmm.
although that water could have started recently,
Yeah.
and do that. So sometimes I think is we're running into it now because where it should have started, the understanding, like
Up front.
the client you were talking about up front, she's very clear up front that this house is probably not going to sell at that price.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, how much conversation that was there with the seller on these are the things that's probably going to come up, and we're probably going to have to negotiate them.
Yep.
So I think that's where some of it comes up to is, but you know what? Those 3 things we do in everything we do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you got to make sure you have an agent that's gonna go to bat
that's
for
what I was
you.
gonna hit on.
Oh.
I would say last but not least, you need to make sure you have an agent that
Mhm.
can do these things.
That's willing to do these things.
If you're not
I mean, and you gotta have an agent that's willing to do both sides of the transaction. I've got a transaction, or I've had a transaction in the past where the other agent really didn't do anything. I've actually had to send them their agent paperwork. I've had to do both sides. I've had to do, several things. But that's just, you gotta.
But that could also be a training issue on
That other side.
on that brokerage and those things. So some of it's not really agent. I'm going to say it's not really agent related. It just depends on what your training and your
but
your style as an agent, and it depends on what kind of passion that you put into it.
But you may have an agent that's new and don't, not you, but whoever you're working with may have an agent. They may have an agent that doesn't really know exactly what to do. So you need to have somebody that knows what to do so they can be on the lookout for these things. It doesn't stop you from getting to the closing table.
Yeah.
All right. So. Then the simple thing is just call us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are we going to call that a wrap, y'all?
I think so.
I think it is.
All right. We will see y'all next time.
Thanks for listening. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform or subscribe to our YouTube channel, Your Neighbor, Your Agents. Please visit www.yourneighboryouragents.com.